Hey guys, if you're following along, you know that we were out here last week and they put a road right in the middle of our field. So I called up Jim so that way we can get to the bottom of this, figure out what's going on with all this pipe, this road through the middle of here, and what exactly is going to happen to our plot of soybeans. Hey Jim, I want to thank you very much for coming out here. You know, it was kind of short notice on here on your end, but we need to know what's going on. I showed up last week with Bridgette. We got a parade set up over there. We got a road and pipe running through our field. What's going on here?
Getting commercial development.
Commercial development.
No, there's an existing pipeline under here and being that is the case, they have an easement where they can come in there anytime they want to, and if they have to work on problems or whatever, and then they compensate us for the crop loss if they end up coming in there. And the reason they're doing it here is they're building the pipeline here, but they're going to bury it a little further down the field where the Fargo diversion is going to be built. It's going to be like a 20 or 25 foot channel here. So, and this pipeline is sitting probably 6 to 8 feet deep. So they have to lower it for the diversion channel to be dug there.
Right, so they just tore through our, part of our 20 acres, the left side of the field or right side, but you said that there will be a compensation for that, and do you know, are they going to be taking this road out by the time we get to harvest, or is that side of the field going to be a waste along with what got buried under the road?
I would guess they'll be done here by I would guess for sometime early August they'd probably be done, because they're getting the pipe built right now, and once they get that done, then they'll bring in a boring machine and pull this pipe underground actually. So,
sure. So
it shouldn't take too long.
Did we know that this was going in beforehand? Or, no. I mean, I know that I didn't. I don't know if you did or not, but
no, the landlord or I neither did. So
and they just called you up last minute and said, "Hey, we're going to start ripping through your field."
Actually, they started putting the stakes up, and I suspected something, but then my landlord called me up, and he had just been notified like a day before. And
really,
so it was, I would guess the engineers had it planned sometime along the road, but they
just waited.
Never informed us, because they have the right to come in, whenever they see fit to, as long as they pay.
Eminent domain kind of situation, and these kind of situations aren't that uncommon. They happen to a lot of people, don't they?
Yes, yeah, it's it's happening on the other side of the field for another reason. I still don't know what the reason is, but that one even started later. That came in about 2 weeks after this one. So with the diversion, there's a lot of activity in this country, and we have a hard time knowing what it is sometimes. Right. Like a pipeline, they don't compensate you as well. Like land around here is selling for $6,000 to $7,000 right now, maybe $8,000. And where they're doing eminent domain on me for a water line, they're just offering to pay $2,000 for the easement. An acre, but once the pipeline's in, it shouldn't really hurt you.
I see. Well, walk with me, Jim. Let me know what you think about our crop. We finally got some water a couple weeks ago, or last week I should say, and what do you think they look like? Are they looking good for where we're at in this time?
Yeah, I'm real happy with our crop prospects for this year.
Yeah, are these things doing all right? Are they a little behind the game?
No, they're pretty. We had so much heat there, it really helped us catch up.
Hey, that's good. And I heard that these early heat waves, when they're in a young stage like this, can actually help prevent another, issues down the road if we got another heat wave, say in August, because they're kind of
drove the roots down.
Yeah, they drove the roots down. They kind of built a little bit of a tolerance to it, right?
Yeah. So we really weren't hurting for moisture here. I mean, all the crops hurt when it gets to be 95 degrees and windy like we had, because the roots can't grow fast enough. But if it cools off at night, the roots catch up, and so I don't think we really lost much yield potential here yet.
That's awesome. So you think we can still maybe hit 65?
Well, that's the best case scenario. And really, soybeans, it just matters what happens in August. If you get really good rains in August, because we've got a good enough stand, but if you get really good rains in August, you'd have potential for it.
Hey, right on.
I mean, that'd be the best. It's about the best it ever gets in this area.
Yeah. Well, we're trendsetters.
If you have any influence on the weather now, Justin, we could use 1 or 2 dry weeks for sure. It wouldn't hurt us a bit.
So Jim, how long do you think this project here is going to be going on? We think we're going to get this road out of here before harvest?
Yeah, I'm hoping they'll be done pulling the pipe by early August. Maybe it could be a lot quicker depends on how hard they're working on it.
Right, and when is harvest usually for beans?
Usually about the last week of September, it starts around here. these are a little longer season varieties, so it'll probably be the first week of October would be my best guess.
All right. And you said that there's some form of compensation. We're going to get compensated for this because they just decided they were going to come in and do this infrastructure work, right?
Yeah, there's a roughly 1 acre, 16 and a half feet wide by half a mile long.
Okay.
This ain't quite a half mile long, but and there's about 16 and a half feet there and there, so I would guess it's going to be close to a 2 acre that they'll compensate us for, would be
Right.
my guess, or that's what I'll fight for at least.
Right. Well, that's what we need to get. If they're going to take 2 acres away from us, they got to compensate it for us because we had time, money, and effort into putting this in the ground, and now it's buried under the road. Yeah, I got a question for you, Jim. Obviously, this is a temporary road, but let's say that they're throwing in a permanent road right through the middle of our property, eminent domain. We don't get a say in it. We get compensated for that road as well. But what about all the years forward that you could be making money on that width of land? Do they continue to compensate for that, or just the 1 year?
No, that's the problem. They just buy it at current value, and you know, for most of us, we think we're being cheated in that respect. They never do compensate for the, what you'd call the net present value or whatever, where it's worth. And they're using it for commercial development usually, so somebody's benefiting from it. So we should have more than a one-time payment for the current value, we believe, but that's kind of the way it's been, and when the courts do eminent domain, that's how they view it always. So.
Well, right. Well, if we were to continue farming this year after year, if say they took 2 acres to put this road through here after 5 years, that's 10 acres of lost profit that you've made, and they only paid you for the 1 year and whatever was on it at the time.
Yeah, that's what we're not happy with it, but
No, not
that's
at
the
all.
way the courts are ruling all the time, so we can't do much about it. Unless the media gets on board and starts fighting for us.
You know, I'll see what I can do for you there, Jim. I know a few people, so. Another question for you. When everyone gets planted at the same time, like you just mentioned, maybe it was roughly around 80% of the area got planted in 1 week because the spring was so wet. Obviously this might need to go over a larger area, but if everyone plants at the same time and it's not more spread out, what does that do for markets and values of the crop? If everyone's getting everything at the same exact time, is it just too much supply, not enough demand because everyone's got harvest at the same exact time? Or
No, the main thing is it's vulnerable to damage because if you get the wrong weather, you know, certain stages where like corn pollinates or when wheat's fertilizing the head, if you get lots of heat, it hurts it. So if it can really affect crop yield when it's all in a small window. When it's spread out, there's a better chance of having a good average, where, you know, if it's all at one time, it could all be really good, but generally the weather's never good for everything. So
right, because the different stages of growing, they have different strengths and weaknesses depending on what stage of growing they're in for most crops, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So generally I mean, for a farmer, we like to get it done as quick as possible, but you're a little more vulnerable when everything's planted in a real short window.
I see.
Usually it's a later window too, and you know, the number one rule of thumb for farming is to get a big yield, you got to get in early. But I was last year we were in late too, and it was my best crop ever, so all of a sudden I feel like I don't know anything after 40-some years of farming.
I've been told was a lie.
Yeah, but mainly because we ended up, a lot of areas were a little dry last year. We ended up getting some good rains in the fall that really helped our yields.
Well, you know, hopefully that, you know, we're on to a good start here because we got that big heat stress and the drought, you want to call it that. You know, it was dry for 2 weeks. Our field was dry. We were out here last week. It was really bad. But they were handling it well. They got the stress of the heat. They drove their roots down deep. Now we got a lot of wet soil, and that runs deep as well. So they're going to be tapping into this for the next month probably. Yeah. We're probably right on track to have a pretty good looking yield, assuming we don't have any hiccups or curveballs down the road. And if we get another heat wave down in August, you know, they'll probably handle it better had they not had that in the end of May and June.
Yeah, and one of the major threats could be like hail on a day like today where it's so humid and you get severe weather. Hail is one of your bigger things, but that's usually just a smaller area. It's not a real big area. You know, it's usually a 2 or 3 mile wide strip that so long gets hurt.
At what stage is hail more of a killing issue for soybeans? Because I heard that at some point, I mean, you roll them, you stress them, they branch out more. Are we past that point where hail's going to do more damage than good? I mean, obviously hail is bad, but there's a time where it's better to get it if you're going to get it than somewhere else?
Yeah, I'd say earlier the better if you're going to have the hail, because they're pretty resilient. They can come back pretty easily. But the later it gets in the season, the more damage it does generally. But it can really vary too. Sometimes if you get a late hail and you get a bunch of rain with it, that helps your yield. So it's in agriculture, everything's so variable year to year. You know, you think you might know everything, and then the weather's a little different one year and the results are different. But
I feel like we're going back to that everything I've been told is a lie statement.
Yeah.
You think you know what's going on, and
the generalizations are true, but not necessarily every year.
Right. All right. We found out what these parade banners up above my head are used for. Jim told me they use them to identify power lines that are going over a roadway, so equipment doesn't have to worry about running into them. We drop episodes every Friday, and remember to watch us as Here We Grow.